Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he was just released home after he remained overnight at Sheba Medical Center for what was described as observation by his office, following his initial hospitalization earlier Saturday for apparent dehydration after a day of boating on the Sea of Galilee amidst a heat wave. Now, the statement from the Prime Minister's office Saturday evening merely said the Premier was admitted to the hospital at the recommendation of his doctors, without further elaborating. But for now, the weekly government cabinet meeting was delayed until tomorrow. But here's Netanyahu himself delivering a statement from the hospital.
Yesterday, I visited the Sea of Galilee in the sun, without a hat, without water. Not a good idea. I want to thank you all for your concern, and also to thank the excellent medical team here at the Sheba Medical Center. Thank God, I feel very well. I have one request. We are in the middle of a heat wave here in Israel. Stay out of the sun, hydrate, and have a nice week.
We go to the hospital here, where our correspondent Pierre Steckelbach has been standing by today, obviously following closely what's taking place around the Prime Minister, who just got out a short while ago. I think dehydration. I know he was under observation, undergoing some tests. What's been revealed, Pierre?
Well, David, the Prime Minister was discharged about an hour ago from Sheba Hospital from the cardiology department. He was brought out by his convoy through the big door after a period of hospitalization of about 20 hours. You're right, his doctors recommended for him to stay overnight for further medical exams and for observation. He was hospitalized yesterday afternoon. Hebrew media reported that he fell in his home in Caesarea and hit his head. He also reportedly complained about chest pain that was not confirmed by the hospital. The final diagnosis after all this tests, including the examination of the heart rate and also brain imaging, is indeed dehydration, as we heard in that video message that he issued yesterday afternoon. He had spent Friday with his family at the Sea of Galilee, apparently not drinking enough water, also not putting on a hat, and this comes after this country is experiencing a massive heat wave. So the final diagnosis is dehydration, but very much extended medical examinations were conducted. He was here at the catheterization room. What we also know is that a heart rate monitoring device was implanted into his heart for further observation, giving the doctors the opportunity to observe his heart rate at a much closer level. As of now, what we know here is that he spent a night at the hospital's cardiology department at the advice of his doctors. Also, his personal doctor, Tzvi Belkovich, was here with them. But he really made sure about Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to issue those messages of him feeling well, feeling good, also thanking his supporters for the speedy recovery wishes and for the concern, but also showing to his opponents that he indeed is doing well. David, you're right that the weekly cabinet meeting that was supposed to take place this morning was proposed until tomorrow, and this comes ahead of a crucial week in the Israeli parliament, in the Knesset. Parts of the planned judicial overhaul, parts of bills are supposed to enter further readings. The cabinet meeting was postponed until tomorrow, but Benjamin Netanyahu was discharged. Now, also the message, the latest one that we received from the Prime Minister's office, said that he was indeed in very good health. He also did not undergo surgery. He did not name a deputy. This is the common practice when a Prime Minister undergoes surgery or travels abroad, that he names a deputy. That has not been the case with this hospital stay. The final diagnosis, we also have an interview with one of the doctors who in fact treated him, who is speaking about the final diagnosis and the procedure that the Prime Minister underwent. David, let's take a listen to him.
Prime Minister Netanyahu has completed a series of tests and is in excellent condition. Our diagnosis, at the end of all the tests performed, including the lab tests, is that the reason for the hospitalization is dehydration. His heart is completely normal, without any findings, and he will be released to his home in the next few hours. The medical team decided to perform a series of comprehensive and routine tests that are performed while fully conscious, all of which came out completely normal. At no point was any heart rhythm disorder diagnosed. In order to continue routine monitoring, we decided to use a subcutaneous Holter, as is customary, to allow the close medical professional team of the Prime Minister to continue regular monitoring.
Thanks, Peter Steckelbach. Great update there. They get a lot of information from all this. The country certainly wanting to know. So thanks for now from the hospital there. Again, the Prime Minister released from the hospital after an overnight stay. But for more discussion on the political moment and how it ties into all this, we're joined by Aviv Bushinsky, former media advisor and the chief of staff for Prime Minister Netanyahu. So, Aviv, thanks for coming back again. Look, for now, I guess he's out of the hospital. A relief that the Prime Minister's in good health at this point, nothing of immediate concern. But look, we're in the middle of an unprecedented domestic political unrest. Let's call it that. I mean, even with the many years as Prime Minister, is Netanyahu likewise under unprecedented pressure? What are we reading?
First of all, Netanyahu always was proud of the fact that he has good genes. Even I can say personally, he called me when my parents passed away. He said, you know, my father, meaning Netanyahu's father, lived till the age of 102 or something, and he was proud of it. And I think he is, Benjamin Netanyahu himself is in a good physical condition. It is true that there is and was some concern. Maybe he had too much on his shoulders, that he bent down because of the huge pressure that he is in, mentioning, David, the judicial reform or revolution and what we're going to anticipate in this coming week. And we all remembered what happened to Menachem Begin in the early 80s, that he said, I can't do it anymore, and decided to step down, not mentioning, God forbid, Ariel Sharon and the stroke in 2004. So yes, Netanyahu is under tremendous pressure, regardless his heart condition or the fact that he was dehydrated. And this is a huge task that he has to overcome in the next 10 days.
Look, again, we're glad the Prime Minister's stable and on his feet. And I understand there was no bout of, he was always conscious during this trip to the hospital here. So no one needed to take over for him. But I think everyone around the nation, or at least many, woke up today saying, wow, what happens if in this scenario? Look, if the Prime Minister were incapacitated, what mechanisms currently in place with this government? Where would things go?
Oh, it's a tough question. First of all, we must be honest that it's a very theoretical question.
Yes, yeah.
Let's say if Netanyahu has to step down or perhaps decides to step down, we all know that he's under a court and might even sign some kind of a plea guilty or plea bargain and decide to step down from office. In such case, we know the technicalities, which is one of the members in the leading party, which currently is the Likud. One of its Knesset members will succeed Netanyahu for the first 3 months, and then they'll decide whether to form a new coalition or to go for elections.
Would this be messy right now? Yeah, would this be a messy process? I mean, in the current form, was there what's your read on how this would play out?
First of all, it's a technical issue. It's quite simple. You remember what happened with Ariel Sharon and Ehud Olmert. It's quite similar, not identical, but quite similar. And that's why, by the way, most of the Knesset members in the Likud party were glued to their seats, waiting, hoping, or fearing, or see that if Netanyahu steps down, then technically they have the ability to succeed him. What would be with the reforms or the revolution? This is a huge, huge question. I think that in such case, they'll have to recalculate the route again. And my assumption is that even now, when we're talking about the Reasonability Act, I think that maybe this will be the one and the last act that Netanyahu will be able or will be willing to pass, because he is facing a huge, huge animosity in the streets. We'll talk about the reserves or volunteering to the IDF, etc., etc. So to alternate between the pressure in the coalition to deliver into the constituency, to deliver something in the reforms, and on the other hand, with the opposition, I don't think that someone that will succeed Netanyahu tomorrow or the day after tomorrow will be able to cope with those challenges in a flush.
Well put. Aviv Bushinsky, thanks for being with us on this interesting moment.
Thank you.